The Rings of Power Season 2 is now out. It launched with 3 episodes, and what it has done to this beloved franchise is devastating and destructive in ways that cannot be overstated. But before I explain, we need to go back to the original Lord of the Rings for some proper context. This will be a bit roundabout, and it'll start off very abstract before becoming more concrete, but it needs to be done in this way to really show the true problem with the Rings of Power Season 2. Lord of the Rings has not stuck around for 70 years merely because it is good. There has been an endless amount of things that are good but fade away soon after. Look at any anime season, where the entire community goes wild over the show only to simply move on to the next big thing next season. In fact, if you were to do that annoying millennial Gen Z thing where you simply break the story down into its most rudimentary pieces, it doesn't even seem like a good story based on this idiotic synopsis. Lord of the Rings is one of the very few pieces of work that has transcended time and will be felt for many ages. Tolkien wasn't merely creating some fantasy. He was, as he put it in various ways in interviews and letters, discovering something with his work. Something that was always there, that he simply needed to give proper shape and form. He didn't decide to make elves in the way they were made. The ideas came to him, the language came to him, and he wrote them down. The reason Tolkien's works have stuck around and had so much cultural impact is because they strike at something deeper, much deeper in people's psyches, their very souls. Tolkien wasn't writing for a modern audience.
And with it, even though I wasn't represented, even my disability or my queerness wasn't represented.
He was writing a piece of work that was, in an abstract sense, true.
There are truths that are beyond us, transcendent truths about beauty, truth, honor, etc. There are truths that man knows exist, but they cannot be seen. They are immaterial, but no less real to us. It is only through the language of myth that we can speak of these truths.
All of Tolkien's works are dealing with archetypes, ones that exist whether you like them to or not. Archetypes that transcend cultures and boundaries, that must get remade every now and then so that a newer generation can view them with a new coat of paint. The famous psychologist, Carl Jung, the most important figure in our understanding of the human mind that we have had in the modern era, once stated, "To give birth to the ancient in a new time is creation. The task is to give birth to the old in a new time." For some reason, his works shine above anything that has come out since his books. Something about his works tell everyone that Tolkien just gets it, whatever it might be. This is why there are people who dedicate their entire lives to studying not only the books, but the man himself. Because there is something deeper here. Gandalf isn't just Gandalf. He's not a generic old wizard someone slapped into a piece of fiction because, oh well, the kids these days love old wizards, let's find a way to make them fit. He is a reimagined archetypal figure that dates back to antiquity. To better showcase what I mean, this image right here, this was a postcard named The Mountain Spirit that Tolkien picked up during a trip around Europe. Tolkien ascribed to this postcard, this image, as the origin of Gandalf. None of these images are ever truly created, as we might know the word. They are rediscovered and reimagined. To be clear, it's not that Tolkien had no thoughts of an old wizard before he saw this image, but something about this image made several pieces floating in his mind all click together. Tolkien did many deep dives into his own psyche. In fact, that is the real origin of his little red book, the Red Book of Westmarch. It is where Tolkien would begin his dive into his own subconscious, where he would start to discover what we know as the Eye of Sauron, the imagery of trees, where he would start to draw mandalas, and through his drawing of and meditating on mandalas is how the very topography of Middle-earth was formed. What makes this even more amazing is that, while Tolkien was writing and drawing in his Red Book, do you know who also had their own Red Book, unbeknownst to one another? The psychologist mentioned before, Carl Jung. At roughly the same time, while diving into his own psyche, Jung was writing down many similar things in what became known simply as the Red Book. In it, Jung had his own mandalas, his own version of Gandalf, and even his own Eye of Sauron. Isn't it funny how, in regards to mythology and its reimagining, the two most important figures of the 20th century, with no contact between each other, began to come to very similar conclusions and eerily similar archetypes that they felt the world needed to see? What I'm doing right now is only giving a teaser, a very small taste of the depths of the subject. Other people have done numerous and more extensive works on these topics than this mere introduction. And now, starting today and going into the weekend, the same pattern will emerge for the next 5 weeks. An episode of The Rings of Power will come out. It will spit on the books and the legacy of Tolkien, and you already know that. hundreds, if not thousands, of content creators will all come out with videos that have a very similar style of clickbait that my title and thumbnail would. Some might even choose to take a niche approach of one aspect that was bad, like I did with season 1's premiere. But that won't do for all of them. They need to get those videos out as soon as possible. So they'll stick to something of a script that will be copied and pasted for the remaining episodes. Within the script, you know what will be said. They will all, more or less, give the same examples with slightly altered takes that barely scratch the surface of anything. Then you'll watch another video in which the same thing will happen. Then you'll watch another and another. Then you'll tune into a live stream where 5 to 12 people will all speak over each other, jockeying for position to say why something sucks, that something breaks the lore, that the writers and showrunners don't care, ad nauseum. We all know the Rings of Power is corrupted. It's broken. It destroys all lore, and even the soul of the work itself. The details, after a certain point, is just negativity masturbation. And yet, we all seem to crave it, not just for this. How many episodes of The Acolyte did people watch the same thing of? How many of those episodes killed Star Wars? How many episodes of The Mandalorian killed Star Wars? Or the Book of Boba Fett? Or the series in Obi-Wan? Remember how bad that was, guys? Do you remember? You probably do. How many hours of your life has been devoted to hearing about how the series is dead? I know I've been hearing it since 2012. It's now 12 years later. I believe most of us are familiar with this famous quote from Tolkien himself. Evil cannot create anything new. It can only corrupt and ruin what good forces have invented or made. And without a shred of irony, I would use the word evil to describe the people who have attempted to butcher this important piece of work that has, consciously or unconsciously, burrowed itself into the very fabric of our culture. What I don't have a quote for, unfortunately, is this energy that has permeated a large portion of society. They might be the evil ones who do not know how to create and can only corrupt, and we've seen it time and time again. But yet, all of our attention is being given to them, and if not directly them, it's being given to people who profit off of just talking about them. People who, with a very small list of exceptions, speak like a shallow middle school kid giving a book report on a book he just glossed over. I'm willing to bet that most, if not every single person who is watching this, has given more attention to this bad, evil, corrupted style of media, whether it be Rings of Power, or Disney Star Wars, or Marvel, both the cinematic universe, and frankly the entire comic book industry, or whatever other form of vomit that is thrown across people's screens. More attention has been given to them than of works that you would consider good, of works that inspire you, of works that bring you joy of talking about, instead of this manufactured, yes, I'm using my words very precisely here, manufactured outrage. I'm unhappy with this. I'm supposed to be part of a culture that is trying to fight back against the woke mind virus, that's supposed to help stop the erosion of all our favorite stories, that's supposed to create something new, to show we no longer need Hollywood. But the reality is, in this wide sweeping generalization of this culture that I mentioned, there is no market for positivity, no market for celebrating good works. No, the true market is in hating what the other side is doing. A glorified 2 minutes of hate, but those 2 minutes keep happening over and over and over again. The market is bitching over and over and over again about the same exact problems that have persisted for over a decade now. It kinda gets the noggin jogging a little bit. This side of the culture war talks about how the other side can only take and corrupt things that have already existed. But without that other side to make those things that everyone complains about, how many of these culture war critics will be able to survive? I want you to imagine this scenario. The culture war ends. The left is defeated. There is no more butchering of old works. No more live-action remakes. No more slop. No more blue hairs to yell about men. No more culture-shattering politics. It's all over and done with. How many channels that you follow, dear viewer, will still have a channel, will be able to survive? If there is a content creator you follow, and you are unable to think of what they would do or talk about in this new scenario, why are you really following them? So as to not cause more manufactured outrage by calling these people out by name and starting an internet drama war, I want to give an example of someone who is a critic, but I would also consider good, and I have so many times on this channel, the Critical Drinker. He talks of things in a way that goes deeper than surface level problems everyone can see.
A good villain can challenge the very nature of who and what a hero is, and what the audience believes them to be. They can have justifiable motivations and complex personalities all of their own. The best ones can even make the audience question just who exactly the real villain is.
And more importantly, he also does videos talking about good shows. Unfortunately, This problem of everyone only wanting to hear YouTubers moan and complain is painfully obvious if you look at his most popular videos. Of his top vids at the moment of this recording, in 39th place was the first video with a positive message. He also has a video series called Brinker Recommends, where he recommends good things for people to watch. I got tired of scrolling through videos to find out where it's highest ranked, but it's a few hundred down the list. Most important, he also creates his own work, whether it be a book series or even working on a film. He's not just taking the money for being a critic and banking it, he's creating work. And for that, I respect him for it. But how many men like him are there in this YouTube sphere? And how many are the ones like I described earlier, who seem to only exist to give shallow, bare-bones criticism of things you already know? Now, am I saying that you should immediately unsubscribe and stop supporting all channels that fall under this umbrella of all they can do is shallow, bare-bones criticism? Yes. Yes, I am. No, I'm not making a joke or being ironic. I think you should immediately unsubscribe and cut off any and all channels that only know how to do this. I say that, but I don't think it'll immediately happen. I just wanted to put that thought into your head. Maybe you're not sure. Maybe you even think I'm an idiot for saying all this. But hopefully, with the seed planted in your head, the things I am saying can become more obvious and noticeable to you. If you wanted to watch some Lord of the Rings video that carried this positive message that I spoke of, or otherwise speak of the series with a sense of depth, there is a channel called Like Stories of Old that has made several videos on the topic. This and the rest of the works are top tier. No, I have no affiliation with the channel, and they, in all likelihood, don't even know I exist. I have not personally made any Lord of the Rings videos, but I do have many videos that fit the general scope of what I'm talking about. Don't Believe in Yourself, The Philosophy of Good and Login, You Are a Story, The Greatest Martial Arts Anime, Mushoku Tensei, The Greatest Isekai, or to put a few I can mention. If you wanted examples of criticism that go beyond mere bare bones, there's Wish, an Immortal and Dangerous Movie, Why Mother Stories Suck and Why They Need to Be Good, Kill Your Nostalgia Then Honor It, and others. If it isn't obvious at this point, this video is pure clickbait, in the truest sense of the word. This was never about the Rings of Power Season 2. I haven't even watched past the first 2 episodes of Season 1, but this type of mindless clickbait drivel was the only way I could get some people to listen. I keep hearing about how this side of the culture war is red-pilled on everything. They know the truth. They've broken through the Matrix and can see beyond the NPCs. They've climbed out of Plato's cave. But they haven't left the cave. Now really. They know they're in the cave, and they know they're looking at shadows. They have an idea of the outside. They've occasionally even gotten glimpses of it. But they really want to know how this puppet show ends. And after it, there's another puppet show they gotta see. What about the following puppet show? They need to see how much more they've killed the previous puppet show. What I've done just now is I hijacked the puppets, and I moved their shadows all the way to the edge of the cave. So right now, you've got 2 views. On one hand, the outside is once again at the corner of your eye. You don't have a full view of it yet, only that you've forgotten that it's there. But at the same time, the shadows of the puppet show are still visible to you. So, what do you want to do? Do you want to venture outside, see what else is out there? Or do you want to go back complaining about the shadows? As for me, I know what I'm gonna do. I enjoy making videos of higher quality, the ones that provoke some thought, or give insights you might not have gotten anywhere else. But I can't be offering that up, there's no market for that. So I'll basically do what I just did here. I'll make those videos, but I will dress them up in the most clickbait titles and thumbnails I can come up with. Have people come in for some fast food slop, but get surprised by a full course meal. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work in practice. It was easy for this video because Rings of Power was coming out ahead of time, and I could make this type of video before it even came out. But how will that work for other videos and messages? Guess I'll find out. Subscribe to see what I do with this. Check out my website, support if you can. Start rejecting low-effort clickbait videos, even if they agree with you. I want to see YouTube flooded with good quality content.